rounding third with home plate in sight. But even the best players need a coach to wave them in. Safe! Welcome to Perfect Game Retirement, hosted by Ryan Ledden, former pro baseball player, University of Georgia economics graduate, and now certified financial planner with Black Oak Asset Management. He's here to guide you through the final stretch and help you slide safely into a winning retirement. Play ball!
Welcome in. Glad to have you inside Perfect Game Retirement once again this week. I am Ben George with Ryan Ledden at Black Oak Asset Management. We got a good show coming up for you today. We're going to talk about two big challenges that retirees and pre-retirees face. First up, natural saving, right? If you're a good natural saver, it's wonderful. It's a good thing, but doesn't mean you're going to be in great shape in retirement. There are actually some unique challenges that savers face. So we'll talk about those and how to navigate them. Plus, we'll talk about some financial myth busting a little bit later on. You probably heard a lot of common truths about retirement planning, things like shifting to bonds, make sure portfolio's safe, or you'll automatically need less income once you retire. But are they actually true? We're going to let Ryan break that down for us, pull back the curtain a little bit, and reveal the reality to each one of these myths. So it should be a good show. Thanks for being here. Again, if you want to get in touch with Ryan at Black Oak, you can always do so at 800-388-0085. Again, 800-388-0085. Ryan, good to have you on again this week. What's going on in your world?
Yeah, good to be back. Yeah, we're entering these fall months, and again, we talk about my kids on here, but yeah, kids sports is getting in crunch time of their fall season, so we're enjoying it.
Yeah, how they doing so far? Pretty good season, or what?
Yeah, so on the softball front, high school softball, we're tied for first in the region right now.
Nice.
So we'll see how that. We got basically a week left in the season. So the goal in softball, high school softball, Columbus, Georgia that's where the final 8 of every classification goes to. So it's always the goal is Columbus, and North Forsyth hasn't been there in quite some time. That's where my daughter goes, and they have a pretty good shot at it. You just obviously never know, but if you can get that 1 or 2 seed, it definitely paints a clearer path to potentially win in the first 2 rounds. The first 2 rounds are at a home site, whether it's your school or the school you're playing, and then is the final 8. And everyone goes to Columbus, and I hear it's a really cool atmosphere, so I would love that. That would be awesome for her to go down there as a freshman. That would be really cool. And then football season, yeah, we're right in the thick of it. I mean, it's middle school football, and I mean we're playing all the big schools, the Carrolltons of the world, and Cartersvilles, and anyway, so it's not county football anymore. So it's a good introduction to big boy football, but we're doing well, so we're hanging in there.
I love it. It's a lot of fun when you're winning, for sure. I know there's a lot of lessons in losing, but it's always fun to have success. So hopefully they'll close out the season strong, but we'll get updates down the road. We got a great show for you. Again, as I mentioned, we're going to get into some saving struggles that you might have, or some mindset shifts in retirement. But again, let me remind you, Black Oak Asset Management, they have offices in Alpharetta, Macon, Lawrenceville, also Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida as well. But you can get in touch right now at 800-388-0085 to schedule a free meeting with Ryan, a free consultation. We can talking about kind of where you stand, the challenges you might face in retirement, some concerns you might have, or just to kind of see where you stand. 800-388-0085. Again, 800-388-0085. So I want to start off with this idea that savers might have some challenges in the road ahead, because you might not think that, Ryan. I know a lot of people just assume, hey, if you have a lot of money saved, you've done that because you've earned a lot of money, or maybe you sold a business. But the truth is, I mean, it's about the simple saving strategies, but that doesn't always translate into retirement. So I want to talk about some of the problems people might face in retirement if they've been really good savers through the years. And it starts with having too much cash, right? I mean, it's a great thing, Ryan, but we talked about it, especially this day and age, having a lot of money in cash isn't going to put you in the best position long term, will it?
Usually not. I mean, I do like to have a certain portion in cash. Now, sometimes cash is a little bit of a loose term as far as, okay, where is that actually at? Is that in your checking? Is that in a savings account, a money market, a CD? Because all those could be considered quote unquote cash. If you have too much sitting in your checking account, yes, that's inflation is going to chew that up and spit it out because it's earning nothing. So you want to look at, okay, keep a certain portion in my very, very, very liquid checking account. But then above and beyond that, does my bank or credit union, do they offer a high yield savings account? Do they offer a money market account? A lot of times, custodians like a Fidelity or a Schwab or a Vanguard, they have a money market mutual fund that has a pretty good yield on it, somewhere around that 4 to 4.5%. So that's pretty much keeping on pace with inflation, especially lately. I know inflation a few years ago was 6, 7, 8%. Now it's kind of pulled back a little bit, but the interest rates haven't pulled back quite as much. They recently did, but didn't make a huge impact on these CDs, short-term CDs or money market mutual funds. So you want to earn something. Just be aware those high yield savings and money market accounts. I mean, you are going to pay taxes on the interest. If it's not in an IRA or a Roth account, if it's what they call a non-qualified account where you can reach in and get that money when you want it or need it, you do pay tax on the interest. So you'll get a tax form at the end of the year from your bank or your financial institution that says, you earned $10,000 of interest, let's say. And then, so you have to pay ordinary income tax on that. So it's not a tax-free yield on those things, but it's at least earning something, and it's just sitting there. So having too much cash sitting and checking, doing nothing, yes, inflation, whether it's 2, 3, 4, 5%, that's just eating into that purchasing power of that money. Yeah, you still have the same account balance, but it just doesn't go as far. It doesn't purchase as much. So you want to be aware of that. You can go to websites like bankrate.com. I mean, you can punch in, hey, what are the best CD rates out there? What are the best high yield savings accounts out there? And it gives you kind of an idea of what these institutions are paying. Is there any minimums? How long do you have to keep it there? All these sort of things you want to be clear on. But going into retirement, if you're at that point, I like having a year's worth of savings in some sort of liquid cash, whether you can access it in a few days. That I think a year's worth is great, because if you have a big pullback in the market, you have that cash sitting on the sidelines to pull from. That way, let the market recover, because it eventually will, but let that market recover, and then you can start pulling your income from those assets that are more market-based. So kind of ebbs and flows, but having too much cash is not a good thing.
Yeah, and if you have a lot of cash and maybe you feel comfortable with that, but okay, I need to start investing this or maybe putting this to work a little bit more for me, get in touch with Black Oak Asset Management. They can help you come up with a strategy, right? And there's a lot of options out there. If you are still a very conservative-minded person when it comes to money, there are a lot of options out there that can match that. You don't have to be aggressive, but get in touch with Black Oak to find out. 800-388-0085. Again, 800-388-0085. On the other side of that spectrum, Ryan, there's also the people that have saved a lot, but they've also invested aggressively as well over the years. And maybe because they've been able to save a lot of money, they don't really notice the market fluctuations as much because they're stocking so much money away. But there is going to come a time, right, where you have to change your risk appetite a little bit, especially as you get close to retirement.
You do, and sometimes people need to understand that maybe getting too conservative too quickly is not a good thing either, but there's a balance there. There's a balance of what your nest egg is, how much income you have, how much income you need, what's your Social Security. There are so many things that factor in. So we work with a lot of employees that have a pension. So as pension employees, and then maybe they have Social Security as well, that's kind of their quote-unquote safe bucket of money. That's where they don't have to take on risk, because that's an engine that's just going to keep producing an income for them, and that's what retirement is about, is income. You no longer have an income from your paycheck. You have to have an income from pensions or Social Security or your nest egg. So if you have those kind of safe income streams, maybe don't have to, but maybe you can take on a little bit more risk with your investments, knowing that, okay, I can maybe get a higher rate of return. Yeah, there's more volatility to it, but I know I have this certain amount of income coming in. But if you don't have those pensions or maybe a good Social Security, you may not have that luxury of taking on more risk in your investment account. So there's a delicate balance there. How much income do you need? What age are you at when you're starting to take this money out? I mean, some people are working much, much longer, and they're not pulling funds out until they have to, maybe at the age of 73 for their required minimum distributions, or maybe even later. So then it's like, okay, well, your runway of life is less, so you're not going to be pulling from your assets as long. So there's so much to it. But yeah, the standard before was always, oh, you got to get more conservative as soon as you retire. It's got to be way more conservative. And that's not necessarily the case, because sometimes you can get too conservative, just like you can take on too much risk.
Yeah, you got to find that right balance. Again, that's what a financial professional can help you with. And Ryan is a certified financial planner. All right, so we're talking about some of the saving, maybe struggles that could lay ahead in retirement, some of the things that you might have to shift before you get too far down the road. And I know I hear the term tax time bomb all the time, Ryan. I know you talk about this a little bit, but explain this for people that they really haven't understood or don't know exactly what that means, but may have heard it. What is the worry here and the concern in retirement?
Yeah, the concern is a lot of the what ifs. I mean, of course, we know the new tax code for the next, foreseeable future until a new politician or Congress regime changes the tax code that was just going to be implemented for 2026. But again, those are the permanent tax codes. Now, again, that's until someone else changes it. But at least we know for the foreseeable future what the tax rates are going to be, which seem to be pretty favorable for most. But the real question is, or the real wonder is, okay, most people have a large majority of their retirement in a pre-tax account because they've saved it in a 401k. They lowered their taxable income by putting 10% into a 401k, and then they got a match at 3 or 4%. So they have all this money built up, which is great. You have a big nest egg, but some of it or most of it has not been taxed yet. So then you have to start pulling those funds out in retirement. So there's a day of reckoning with the IRS. You either pay it on the front end or you pay it on the back end. It's going to happen, some shape, form, or fashion. They're going to get their revenue, which is fine. But how do we go about navigating that? So most people have pre-tax 401ks as a large majority of their investment savings or their investment nest egg. So then what happens is, okay, they start taking it out of retirement. Well, everyone says, we're going to be in a lower tax bracket when we get to retirement. Maybe not. That may not always be the case. That's where you need to do a retirement income plan and a planning perspective to see what tax bracket you're currently in while you're working, and then what are you going to be in retirement. And sometimes it's eye-opening, and sometimes you're in the exact same tax bracket. It happens quite a bit. So getting all that tax deferred and pre-tax savings may not have been as beneficial as you thought. You should have maybe done a Roth instead and be in the same tax bracket, let that money grow tax-free, and you pull it out tax-free in retirement. So the time bomb is the pre-tax accounts, because when you start taking money out of those accounts, it flows through your tax return. It affects your Social Security tax in retirement when you start receiving your Social Security check. It could be, it could increase your Medicare premium. So it's just, everything just flows through your tax form and that tax time bomb. So the big what if is, what if tax rates go up? And that's all speculation, because I don't have a crystal ball when it comes to this stuff. But if tax rates do go up, then you're at the mercy of what the tax code is going to be, versus if you have Roth money or even non-qualified money in an investment account, you kind of know what capital gains rates are going to be. Now, sure, they can change capital gains rates, but the Roth is, you put it in there and leave it in there for 5 years and you're over 59 and a half. Those are the two main rules. Then that money is tax-free. So you're not at the mercy of what our government decides to do. So that's the tax time bomb. It's the what if that thing goes off, then you're at the mercy of what the tax code is.
All right, one more tip here for savers on Perfect Game Retirement, and this is a good one to kind of finish with, Ryan. It's okay to live a little, right? I know for people that have been saving for a long time, is it really hard to shift that mindset? I know we hear this a lot, but do you see this actually happen?
We do, because this is more the psychology of money in retirement than anything, which is a huge component of how people interact with their money and the mindset of their money, knowing that their working life paycheck is now probably over. So what are they going to do next? Can they do these things? Like just making a plan for it. You've been saving for so long, and some people have this tight grip on their money and they just can't let go, because they're like, gosh, what if I run out of money? What if I run out of money? Well, if you make plans, if you run these different scenarios of a really bad market over your retirement an average or above average. I don't like really doing above average because that's just, yay, that's extra. But you make a plan for, okay, this is kind of the returns that we're going to expect, positive and negative returns. And when you have those good year returns above and beyond what you were expecting, carve off some of that money and go live a little. Do some things that you've been wanting to do. I don't like the term bucket list, but hey, if you got a list of things you want to do them. So you just have to make a plan for it. Just don't go like, yeah, I'm going to take a $20,000 European vacation. Well, let's make a plan for that. Do it. Please do that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
But make a plan for it, and most people don't.
All right. So again, if you're a saver, great. That's a great position to be. It's a great habit to have. But you want to make sure that you are on the right track long term, right? Put those savings to use, spend a little bit, but as always, make sure you have someone that can help guide you. That's what Black Oak Asset Management can do. They have offices in Alpharetta, Macon, Lawrenceville. You can get in touch right now at 800-388-0085. Again, 800-388-0085. Begin talking about some of your strategies moving forward. What do you do with some of that cash you might have? Or, hey, are you taking on too much risk? These are some of the things they discuss with you at Black Oak, especially that first meeting as you begin to get to know Ryan and the team a little bit more. Those are some of the things you'll be talking about. But again, get in touch now, 800-388-0085. All right, coming up, we're going to talk about some of the financial myths that are out there. We'll be busting a few that you might believe are true, but maybe they're not. Stay with us here on Perfect Game Retirement.
You're listening to Perfect Game Retirement with certified financial planner Ryan Ledden.
Thanks for being with us here on Perfect Game Retirement. Ben George with Ryan Ledden, president and financial coach, also certified financial planner, Black Oak Asset Management. Remember, you can get in touch right now at 800-388-0085. Take advantage of a complimentary meeting, consultation with Ryan and the team there to begin learning your financial picture, your financial goals, where you want to go, and hopefully start building a plan to help you get there. Again, 800-388-0085. Got a quick question I want to run by you, Ryan, before we get into our final topic. It came from Carla in Sharpsburg. Thanks for sending this in. Here it is. I'm grateful to be in a financially stable position as I approach retirement. My sister, unfortunately, is not. While I sympathize with her, her financial state was definitely a product of her decisions and not caused by dire, unpreventable circumstances. So a few months ago, she called and asked for money, and so far I've said no. Is there a way that I can help her that can both clear my conscience and also have a positive outcome? What do you think, Ryan?
Ooh, good one. Good question. So I know there's a lot going on behind the scenes here, Carla, but it's a great question. So yeah, that's a tough one because when you start talking about, it was more behavior than anything. But you're also, your conscience is a real thing as well. So if it gets to that point, I mean, maybe you just say, hey, here, if you ever give her money, like don't loan it to her. Just say it's a gift and this is a one-time gift. Be clear about that. But if it helps her get out of maybe a situation or credit card debt, again, you didn't say what the situation was, but I mean, you can give up to the gift tax exclusion for 2025, and no one owes taxes on that. That's kind of a great benefit of giving away money, if you will. You can give up to $19,000 and no one has to pay tax on it. So if that, and I'm not saying do 19, you can do up to 19 and not have to file a gift tax form. But if that makes you feel better, if it's a number underneath that, but just communicate to your sister and say, hey, this is a gift. I don't expect any of this money back, but I think that will clear your conscience and hopefully it will put her on the right path. Now, if it's a behavior thing, she needs to correct that behavior, and that may be sitting down with a financial coach and going through her budget. That's a whole nother story, but maybe that's, hey, if you go see this person and help you out, and I know Dave Ramsey has a lot of financial coaches, if you go see this person and help with your budget, then I'll give you X amount of dollars in a gift. So maybe that's something you can help her with and still clear your conscience.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of family and financial things that are very difficult to navigate. And again, that's kind of what you help with, right?
Yeah, it can get sticky but the biggest thing is communication. Communication is the key. But yeah, money and family, it's amazing how it can divide people really quick.
If you want to get in touch with Ryan at Black Oak Asset Management, again, 800-388-0085. You can schedule a complimentary consultation right now. It takes about 15 or 20 minutes to spend time with Ryan and get to know your situation. This is the kind of question that's a great thing to bring to the table and be asking. 800-388-0085. All right. I mentioned before, we're going to bust a few financial myths. I know a lot of things may seem true on the surface, but you could dig a little bit deeper. The reality may be a little bit different. So I'll give you the statement, Ryan. You explain why it's a myth. First up, shifting from stocks to bonds removes the volatility from your portfolio. Heard this a lot. What do you think?
Yeah, so shifting from stocks to bonds can lower your volatility. It definitely does not remove it. And recent history proved that. 2022. So bonds, a quick bond lesson. Again, as interest rates go up, bond prices go down. So bonds still have volatility. They just have more interest rate risk versus market risk that stocks have. So if interest rates go up, bond prices go down. And that's exactly what happened in 2022. So a lot of people just think bonds, they don't have, there's no volatility to them whatsoever. And they found out that really, really quick that they do. And not only was the stock market getting pummeled, interest rates were increasing, so bond prices were getting pummeled. So 2022, not a good market return year at all. But most of the times bonds, depending on what type of bonds you have, individual bonds have durations to them. They have a length of time. And so as long as you keep them there for that length of time, then you'll essentially get your money back and the interest you get to keep along the way. But bond funds are a little bit different. That's a whole nother rabbit hole of things. But it does not remove volatility. It lowers the volatility number, and you need to know what your portfolio volatility number is. You need to know exactly what it is and how much volatility you're taking on, what the potential upside returns are, and also the potential downside returns. You need to know what that is. So adding bonds to that can lower that number, but it definitely doesn't remove it from your portfolio.
All right, good first myth to start with. Here's myth number 2. Once you're retired, life insurance is no longer necessary. Is this true, Ryan?
Yeah, that's a good one. For some, that is the case. For others, that's not the case. Some people want to have some sort of a life insurance policy that is a gift to their heirs, that is tax-free, that can go to help pay for funeral expenses, whatever it may be. So just because you're retired and you have your house paid for and your kids are long gone, I've delivered several life insurance checks to clients that are left behind, and not one of them were upset that they got that check. I mean, it's obviously they're missing a loved one and their life has now changed forever. But sometimes that life insurance money can get through. Maybe you don't have that house paid for. Maybe that life insurance check will help pay the house off. So to say it's no longer necessary is definitely a myth. For some, it is definitely necessary. Some, it's a wonderful gift to get that you don't have to pay tax on. But for some, I understand their justification that, hey, we're in a good financial situation. We have a huge nest egg, no debt. Hey, maybe you don't need to pay those premiums anymore. But if that premium is not changing your life on a monthly basis, then I would keep going with it. I reserve a lot when people have life insurance policies and they ask me, hey, should I get rid of this? A lot of times I'm like, if the premiums aren't killing you each month from a budget standpoint, keep doing it. If it is affecting your life in retirement, then okay, maybe it's time to get rid of it.
Gotcha. Okay. We are busting some financial myths here on Perfect Game Retirement with Ryan Ledden at Black Oak Asset Management. You can get in touch. If any of the things we talk about here maybe surprise you a little bit and you want to make sure you have a plan for them, 800-388-0085. Again, 800-388-0085 is the number to schedule a 15-minute consultation, complimentary, just an opportunity to sit down with Ryan and begin talking about some of the things on your plate. All right, third financial myth here. You'll need less income when you're retired than you need while you're working. I hear this one a lot, Ryan.
Yeah, false. Sometimes you do. For the most part, especially those early years, most people that we work with don't take a drastic cut in income as soon as they retire. It's not like, oh, we're going to live on 60% of our income as before. That's a big lifestyle change. And so we plan on people having very, very similar income levels. Now, obviously, if your income levels were extremely, extremely high, that may be a different story. Maybe you do need less income, but for the most part, most people we work with are about the same income, especially in the first few years, because you're still active for the most part. People want to do things. They've had plans to do things. They want to travel. They want to do certain things. Totally fine. So let's plan on that income being about the same. And then we can start reeling it back down a little bit as we go through the slower years, or if you will, they call them the slow go years, that maybe you don't travel as much, but then you may need more income later when you need different types of potential care one day. So the income levels, you're probably going to be somewhat in the same ballpark as you were when you were working.
All right, got one more financial myth for you to bust on our show today, Ryan. Financial planning today is much easier to do without professional help because of all the technology that's available. And I know AI is out there, Ryan. There's a lot of tools online. Can you do it yourself?
Yeah, I mean, some can. There's so much emotions when it comes to money, and knowing what buttons to push is one thing that we know how to do from a software standpoint. Yeah, sure, there's AI out there, but it's amazing how in some areas of financial planning, AI stuff is still very broken. Like it still has incorrect facts of information in there. So, I love the AI tools that are out there, but buyer beware, if you will. So yeah, some people can do this on their own. Totally fine. There's a lot of people that can't, because again, when you're talking emotions and money and planning, a lot of this stuff does become emotional and psychological. So we need to be that coach, if you will, for people during their retirement days. So yeah, there's tools everywhere. My goodness, there's a wealth of information out there. Same thing with weight loss and, fitness. I mean, there's stuff everywhere, but do people do it? No. Not most people don't. They can't do it on their own. So this is where we feel like we add value and step in, and from a tax planning, retirement planning, investment, you name it, estate, that's where we jump in and we kind of move people along that path so they get to the place where they want to. Sometimes people can't do that on their own.
Well, these financial myths, again, some of the things that you might have heard that you thought were absolutely true, there's, again, not everything's black and white, especially as you're dealing with retirement planning. Not every situation is the same, right, Ryan? Is why you work with a financial professional, why you sit down with someone to look at your specific situation. You could do that now at 800-388-0085. Get on the calendar with Ryan at Black Oak Asset Management. They have offices in Alpharetta, Macon, Lawrenceville. And it all begins with a phone call, 800-388-0085. And Ryan, it's just a good reminder. You want to have that individual attention, right? Because there's not a one-size-fits-all plan that's successful.
No, that is the kind of piggybacking that last point there. I mean, it's so different. So you want it customized to you. That may sound very cliche, like, oh, everyone's. It's 100% true. I mean, that's what's fun about my job is very, very rarely are there two cases that are exactly the same. There may be some very, very a lot of similarities when it comes to whether they're pension employees or what industry they came from or what company they used to work with. But there's so much customization because, yeah, maybe they work for the same company, but behind the scenes, the family dynamic, they got, one family's been divorced and they have 3 kids, but then one's financially irresponsible. I mean, you got so many things going on there. So that's what makes my job interesting and fun. And so it's hard to get that from just pushing buttons on a piece of software or financial planning tools that people have out there. There's a lot more to consider. All
right. Well, make sure you get on the calendar, 800-388-0085 to get in touch with Black Oak Asset Management. We appreciate you being a part of Perfect Game Retirement. Want to give you that opportunity to get that complimentary consultation. Again, 800-388-0085. But that will do it for us this week. For Ryan Ledden and Black Oak Asset Management, I am Ben George. We'll talk to you again next week right here on Perfect Game Retirement. Thanks for listening.
Information provided is for informational purposes only and does not constitute tax, investment, or legal advice. Please consult with a qualified professional before taking any action. Securities and registered investment advisory services offered through Silver Oak Securities, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Black Oak Asset Management and Silver Oak Securities, Inc. are not affiliated.